Hi everyone, do you often find yourself difficult to distinguish between interested and interesting, bored and boring, excited and exciting? Well, not anymore because today's episode we are going to talk about participial adjective. Okay, what actually participial adjective is? Okay, it's adjective that is derived from the verb. For example, the word bore. So if you add ing, boring, so it may be acting as a gerund or it may be acting as the adjective, right? And we'll get to know what is the difference between bored and boring, excited and exciting, frightened and frightening, and then interested and interesting. Okay? Okay, if you add ed in the end of the verb, for example, like the word bored, okay? Let me read for you. The word bored is adjective that describes the feeling experienced by someone. If you experience something, for example, you experience or you suffer from boredom because maybe you're watching um, the show and then you feel bored, right? So it describes your feeling because you experience something bad, for example. So you use bored, not boring. For example, you cannot say I'm boring, but you say I'm bored because the show is boring. Okay. While ing, for example, ing is also adjective. It describes something or someone that causes boredom. So it refers to the thing. For example, the show is boring. I'm bored because the show is boring. Well, another example I have here is excited, right? Excited and exciting. If you add ed at the end of the verb excited, it describes the feeling um, of being enthusiastic because you're so much enthusiastic over something, then I am really excited to learn this language. I'm excited to learn to listen to this podcast, for example. But exciting itself, it describes something that causes excitement. Okay. For example, like the trip is really exciting. I'm really excited to go to Bali because Bali is really exciting for me. So exciting describes something that causes excitement. Okay. Another example is the word frighten. Frighten is the verb. If you add ed, it turns into frightened. While if you add ing, frightening, frightened and frightening. Okay, so frightened describes the feeling of being scared, for example, and then frightening describes something that causes what is it, scare. For example, if you feel so much scared, you can say, okay, I felt so much frightened. While frightening is the scene, for example, of the movie, the scene is really frightening. I feel frightened with that movie. So that's the difference between frighten and frightening. And then we have also another word like interested and interesting. You are interested in this book. I am interested in this book. But if you want to show that the book is interesting, so you say interesting. The book is already is interesting, right? But if it describes the feeling, how you feel, so I'm interested. The book is interesting. Yeah. For example, like the word tired and tiring, right? Maybe because you've been doing a lot of things for the weekends, and then you say, I'm really tired, not I'm tiring. But when it describes something, it can be tiring. For example, doing this grammar exercise is really tiring for me. Tiring, right? So that I am tired. That is why I am tired. The last one I have here is amused and amusing. I think it's pretty much the same as the previous ones, like excited and exciting. But not all verb added with ed at the end of the word can be participial adjective. No, it doesn't work all the time. It only works to certain verb, common verb, like excited and exciting, frightened frightening, interested interesting, tired and tiring, bored and boring, amused and amusing. Or if you guys have another example, just write down something in comments, right? Okay, so I hope that explains, guys. For me myself, learning this kind of grammar, participial adjective in the very first place can be confusing. Okay, confusing is very perfect example. Confused and confusing. So learning grammar at the first place is really confusing. That's why I feel confused. I was confused learning English grammar because English grammar was difficult and confusing. So that is the perfect example of the word confused and confusing, right? Um, yeah, that's how I feel. So um, maybe by practicing, by putting this in a context, then okay, you'll finally feel and you know when to use this word properly in a situation. So I think that's all for today. Very short because I'm not with Fatma this episode. See you next episode. Yeehaw.